Hi everyone! Welcome to Lina's Gardening Journal. This channel is going to be all about the start out of a small size garden in a suburban setting that is designed and created by an amateur gardener, which is myself. Before we begin the tour, let me just give you a little bit of a general background information of my garden. I live in a cookie cutter home in a corner lot, so my yard is L-shaped. For those of you who are not familiar with the cookie cutter home, there are these identical or similar design homes that are placed nearby or side by side one another. And as you can probably already guess, we have a common problem of a smaller yard space that is connected to our neighbors. We have shared fence that is usually no taller than 6 to 8 feet. And a lot of the times you have your neighbors' windows or doors looking into your yard. So if you're in a similar situation like myself, or if you're just starting out as a brand new gardener who's kind of overwhelmed, not sure what to do, where to start, I would be happy to share with you my experience, my thought process, my design when I first started out, my past and current mistakes. I live in USDA Hardiness Zone 8 in Western Washington to be exact. My interest in gardening started in 2017, but I actually didn't act on it until spring of 2019. I guess I spent the first 2 years just being unsure of myself. I really wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to take on this huge task on my own. Looking back, I'm really glad I did, and I kind of regret not starting sooner. But hey, it's better late than never, right? So, right now we're going on to the 4th week of July of 2021. It's been almost 3 years since I embarked on this wonderful journey of gardening, and I'm so happy to be sitting here and sharing my experience with you. Everything you're about to see is no more than 3 years old. Most of my plants are on its either second or third growing season. All of the container roses that you're about to see, they're brand new additions to my garden this year, as in I literally just got them no more than 5 months ago, and when they came, they arrived as bare root plants. So I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. But yeah, I think that's it about the background information. I don't want to bore you to death with the details, so are you ready to take a look at my young garden? If you are, let me show you what I've done with it so far. Let's start with the patio. It's the first thing that I see as I enter the garden from the house. As a focal point, I place in the center a single tree form of phantom hydrangea. And to harmonize the space, I frame both sides of the patio with identical containers and plants. There in the ground, we have an evergreen Victoria California lilac. And here towards the front, we start with smaller containers of some lilies and white Spanish lavender. It is midsummer right now, so some flowers have not yet opened, while some already finished blooming. But to ensure myself a constant pop of color throughout the growing season, I paired up some brightly colored annual geraniums with the lavender blue flowers of the catmint. This is a really lovely color combination in my eye. Now back here stand some taller containers with white roses and gardenias. This white rose is called Shirley's Bouquet. It's just finished blooming its second flush and is now already forming new buds. I'm very impressed. Next to the white rose is frostproof gardenia. This is an evergreen shrub that also has creamy white flowers. Just look at how beautiful that flower is. I keep the roses and gardenias closest to where we sit for obvious reasons. They're beautiful flowers and their intoxicating fragrance. Now closer to the house is a shaded area. This is where I keep my container camellias. Camellia is an evergreen winter flowering plant that I keep close to my line of sight. Looking out into the garden in the winter when most things are lifeless, nothing keeps your spirits up like the glossy green leaves and bright flowers of a camellia shrub. Now I'll skip the right side of the patio because it's identical to the left. Next to the patio is the 3-panel window that my dining area looks out onto. Below it is where I keep my David Austin roses. To the left is Harlow Carr. The flower has such nice pink formation, although she's quite thorny as you can see. In the middle container here is Olivia Rose Austin. This has to be one of my favorites. Just take a look at her romantic pink blooms. And to the right is Princess Alexandra of Kent. Such a beautiful deep pink color that changes its intensity as the petals open up. Next to the rose container stands my favorite tree in this entire garden. This is K. Paris magnolia, which is an evergreen tree that has very glossy green leaves with orange-brown undersides. Huge scented creamy white flowers that are bigger than my hands. Right behind this tree I have a little sunny spot, so I tuck in another container of David Austin rose. This one is Desdemona. Some of the flowers are white and some are white with pinkish hue. Next are my Japanese dappled willow trees. I placed 2 of them on this side of the fence as my privacy shrubs. They are the same specimen but turned out looking slightly different. Can you tell? I'll let you guess the reason for now and I'll reveal the answer in my next video. Now in the small space between these 2 trees, I ended up with a shaded spot that gets dappled sunlight throughout the day, so I planted some hostas, azaleas, rhododendrons, and a few varieties of coleus. Next up is what I call a tricky corner. This corner is connected to 2 of my neighbors' yards and I have some tall windows looking into my yard from this angle. So for now, I keep a small peach tree to help block out the view. This patch leading up to the corner is an interesting area, quite shaded towards the front and almost full sun towards the back. So here I mix an array of both shade and sun-loving plants together. See these brown dead stems? They're what's left of these glorious tulips that lit up this area like fireworks in the early spring. Moving on to the right begins the longest side of my fence, and along this fence I have a long and narrow raised garden bed, approximately 3 by 70 feet. Here I use the Japanese dappled willows again and a pink tree heath as my anchor plants. This is the section that I look out onto the most from my dining room window, so I really want the abundance of color and bloom bursting display all throughout the season. This is a lavender rose. This variety is called Le Petit Prince. It has big showy blooms, it grows up to about 4 feet tall. I put this rose bush next to some oriental lilies because of their similarities in height. Behind them are some gladioli. The gladioli are about 1 to 2 feet taller than these 2 plants, and I think their bright colors contrast really well with my medium brown fence. In the lower middle section towards the front, I keep a mixture of evergreen and deciduous perennials. Here are some purple Spanish lavender, some catmint. I love this plant for its long-lasting blooms. And here's some evergreen thyme. Next to it is the purple salvia. Bees and butterflies love this plant. And right here we have Rudolph Spurge euphorbia. In the very front section of this border, I keep very low growing plants like the dianthus, some candy tufts, sedums, and I think this plant is called the ajuga, or some people call them bugleweed. I love this plant for its fast growing and fast spreading habit. This plant saves me a lot of time from having to pull out unwanted weeds. Now, on the other side, I repeat the use of some more sedums, some candy tuft, and some dianthus. Now again, to ensure that I have a constant pop of color and that every time I look out here, I always see something blooming, I keep containers of annual geraniums or some roses to make sure I have that going for me. Directly across from my patio, this is what I see. And this is also the section of the fence that I see the most when I look outside of my living room window. Now, as you can see, I have small windows looking into my yard, so to help avert the eye, I planted here some emerald green arborvitae. In between these 2 trees, I placed a white hydrangea and some white candy tuft, hoping that in the future the candy tuft would grow and cascade over the concrete, giving it a beautiful look. My container of oriental lilies are going to open up anytime soon. I am so excited. Now this next section is also what I see a lot when I look out of my living room windows or from my patio. This beautiful plant right here is called Coreopsis. This is a variety called Darling Clementine. It has very bright orange flowers that when it's in bloom, I think it was probably covered with more than 100 flowers. Right now, all the blooms are probably mostly already spent, but I decided to leave them on there anyway. After all, imperfection is one of the things that I love the most about nature. In the middle there is thinning out and it's looking kind of sparse. I think this is this plant's way of letting me know that soon it'll be time to divide it. Here's a little peek of what it looks like in full bloom. Now in this area, apart from the emerald green arborvitae as my anchor plants, I also use the Nandina or heavenly bamboo and a gold flame spirea as my backdrop. Right here are the perennial geraniums. They give out this really bright purple flowers that are really beautiful, and they come out right around late spring to early summer. In the middle here I have some wallflowers. I think this is an evergreen plant, but this is the first year that I ever got them, so I guess I'll find out. The heavenly bamboo, however, is a plant that I can be sure of because I've had this for a couple of seasons, and in the wintertime it looks just as beautiful as it does now, with all kinds of colors on it, from green to yellow to orange to reddish brown. Next to the arborvitae, this plant is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, what a surprise! I think this is one of my oriental lilies that just opened up this morning. I think this is called Salmon Star. After this is the part of the fence that I don't see very often unless I come out and sit on my patio and I look farther down along the fence. So whatever plants that you see here are kind of the plants that I didn't have room for, or the plants that I'm experimenting with, like these hollyhocks and foxgloves that I'm trying to grow from seeds. But looking at it now, I realize that it actually turns out looking quite okay. And if I can quote Bob Ross, this is my happy accident. This is the Inkalali alstroemeria. When I first put them here, I thought I was only going to temporarily store them, but I think they're quite happy and they're looking lovely here. So this might just end up being their permanent home. And right here we have some deep purple, deep burgundy colored sedum. And here we have Asiatic lily that finished blooming a few weeks ago. Next to that is the bee balm or the bergamot. And here's a happy little volunteer plant. Here are some poppies. In the center front of this bed is a container of coral knockout roses. This is their second flush of blooms. Aren't they just a perfect addition to the explosion of colors that are bursting right here? And to continue on with the section that I dubbed my happy accident, I put in there some more Asiatic lilies, some more bee balms, and right in the middle here we have, well, right in front here we have some more dianthus that I ran out of room for, and I tucked in a little bit of a pink Spanish lavender in here along with some calla lilies that haven't yet bloomed, and they might not bloom this summer because I just divided them this year. The color combinations that we see here that come from different shades of pinks of these stargazer oriental lilies mixed together with the never alone roses back there makes me quite happy because I think this is particularly beautiful. What do you think? Alrighty, so I think this wraps up my narrow raised garden bed that I have along the longest side of my fence. What I'm about to show you next is a part of the fence that is farthest away from my house and my patio. I don't see this section a lot, and to be honest, I have not really worked on it too much. What I put there are 2 apple trees, and in between the trees, I tuck in some more container roses and some Shasta daisies in the background, and I put down some annual geraniums along the fence just to add some colors. Here's a close-up look of the snow-capped Shasta daisies. For this season, I filled this very narrow spot with some red geraniums, and in front of the geraniums, I added 2 containers of more David Austin roses. This yellow rose is Roald Dahl. This is a very healthy rose with big, vigorous blooms. And to carry on with more warm colors, here's a container of red hibiscus and red geraniums, but I think the hibiscus is taking a break at the moment. Next to it on the right is one more of David Austin rose. This one is Carding Mill. It is a very beautiful apricot rose. And there's the end of my warm tone colors. Next up for sure is a part of the garden that's going to have to be worked on a lot more. I'm really unsure of what to do here. But what you see there is a climbing clematis in the background. Here's some more catmints and some more roses. And I placed this dappled willow next to it. I think it would be a temporary placement. It might be permanent. I'm not sure. And there's a red twig dogwood there. And this sweet bay magnolia is a brand new addition to the section. She's been in the ground for about 3 months now, and she's doing well. My dogwood, however, this is the pink dogwood that I just got, not looking too great. This side of the house is a side that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, but it does get a little bit of sun towards the end of the day for maybe about 3 to 4 hours. And I decided to do a row of hydrangeas. There's my dog, Charlie. She's my best gardening partner. With these hydrangeas, I don't really do anything to amend the soil. I kind of enjoy them as they are. So when the first blooms start to open, they kind of start out really blue. And gradually, they'll turn light pink or light purple, and towards the end, they'll turn really pink. Let me show you the ones that have just started to open. Oh, here's one. So as you can see, it starts out really blue, and then gradually it'll turn purple, like the one on the left there. And then later on, it'll turn really pink. And I think that's how I like them. And because this is a shaded area, I decided to add a few more hostas there just because I have space. And look at this hosta. How big is she? Some people don't like hostas when they flower. I do. I think their flowers look just lovely. And from here, we're walking back to the patio. And that concludes the tour of my little garden. I hope you enjoyed our little tour. So that's an overview of what everything looks like right now after 2 to 3 years of being planted. As you can see, it's still a work in progress. I have so much more to do and so much more to learn still. But the important thing is you gotta start somewhere. And if you haven't yet, now is as good a time as any. In my next videos, I want to be sharing with you my first section that I started out with and why I chose that section and the mistakes that I made along the way. It's been such a happy journey for me, you guys. And if you're interested in finding out more, stick around and learn with me. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have a good day. Bye.